Welcome. This is Megan at the Math Workshop. Welcome to How to Help Your Children with Math Without Losing Your Mind workshop. During this video, I'll be sharing practical tips and takeaways with you. Let's get started. I'm curious, do you consider yourself a math person? If you had to rate yourself with 0 being no, Megan, no way, and 10 being yes, absolutely, I'm curious, which one would you choose for yourself? I ask this question because I believe that how we feel about ourselves in terms of being a math person or not can impact our children and our students. I think it's very important to be aware of our feelings and what messages, either conscious or not, we send to the young mathematicians in our lives. Let's watch a quick video clip for a moment.
I think it's already starting. Okay, here's your homework. First let me tell you the directions. What's 4 take away 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Take away. What's 6 take away 1? 1. No, you take away, so you take away 1 out of 6. How much does it equal? What's 10 minus 1? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope. Take away 1. How much is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And wait, and one more. And add 1 more. How many does it equal? 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1. It makes 9. See how you take away? You take away 1 and it equals 1. Do you get it now? Yes.
Okay.
1, 3. Yes. Good job.
I bet we can all identify with that cute clip. Probably we can identify with both positions, maybe being someone who tried their hardest to get someone else to understand something that made perfect sense to us, but the other person wasn't connecting with it, or with being the person who just didn't get what someone else was trying to explain to us. All right, here's our agenda. I'll do a brief introduction. We got to talk about what has changed in math and why. And then we've got practical tips and takeaways for you. So let's get started so we can support our young mathematicians. I am Megan. If we haven't met before, I'm the owner and creator of the Math Workshop. I am a parent. I've been an educator for over 30 years. I have a pre-K through 8th grade math specialist master's degree. I am a small business owner. I am a former teacher, educational consultant who was training and coaching teachers across the United States. I've been a math coach at a Title I school, and I worked in the district curriculum office as a specialist. And I've been a curriculum designer and editor. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am a recovering, not a math person. So I don't say that anymore, but I'm a recovering, not a math person. And I am very passionate about teaching and especially math. So, how to be a math person? It is so simple. Step 1, Do math, any type. Step 2, be a person. Have you seen this little image before? We are all math people. It is the truth. We are doing math each and every day as we live our lives, whether or not we realize it. On one of my last jobs was being an educational consultant, specifically in math. And this position required me to travel on planes weekly and visit schools across the United States. Sometimes I was teaching math workshops to teachers, or I might be modeling math lessons with students while teachers observed. And then we would have a discussion about what we learned from the students. Sometimes when I was at the airport or on a plane, a conversation might happen between a fellow traveler and myself. And if I shared what I did for a living, inevitably the other person would say, "Oh, I'm not a math person. I'm just not that good at math. I just don't get it. I don't have the math gene." This is what people say to me, people I don't even know. It is still so fascinating to me how many people admit they don't like math, that they're not good at math, they don't want to do any math. So I've been on a long journey as a recovering not a math person myself, and very passionate about spreading the message that we can all be math people, that we all are math people, whether we admit it or not, and that it's possible for all of us to engage with mathematics to high levels. Let's get started. All right. And let's start with what has changed in math classrooms and why. All right. Yesterday's classroom. Way back when in the traditional old math classrooms, the focus was primarily on procedural understanding. That's memorizing formulas and step-by-step algorithms. Do this, do that. Look at an example, just follow it. Getting the correct answer was the main goal. What were the methods that teachers used? Teachers used one method, a single standard algorithm for each type of problem, whether it was addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. And there was no emphasis on exploring different strategies. What was the real world application like back then? Well, lessons often involved abstract exercises. We call it kind of naked math, just problems on a paper. And textbook problems were usually very disconnected from practical real world situations. Well, what kind of tools were they? Well, before technology, students just relied on mental arithmetic. They did manual calculations in their head or on paper, and the tools they used might be like a slide rule or a projector. And so, really, what was valued was being a quick calculator yourself, doing those calculations yourself, being accurate. What was the content in the curriculum like? Well, in the 1950s and the 60s saw the rise of the new math movement. That was a response to the Soviet launch of Sputnik, and it attempted to bring in more advanced concepts like set theory, but the reforms faced a backlash and were ultimately short-lived. Okay, so we all get that. It was pretty quiet probably in our math classes. Teacher stood at the front of the room, showed us what to do. We did it. Okay, let's talk about what's happening today in classrooms. Today, in these standards and in classrooms throughout the world, what is emphasized is conceptual understanding. That's helping students grasp why math works and how concepts are connected. And reasoning is valued as much as finding the correct answer. This type of teaching encourages multiple problem-solving strategies, such as number lines, area model, and breaking numbers down into smaller parts, decomposing numbers. And students are asked to explain their reasoning. This type of teaching stresses applying mathematical concepts to solve real-world problems. And this helps students see the relevance of their math skills beyond the classroom. It embraces technology as a tool for problem solving. This shift in focus is in recognition that manual calculation skills are less critical than they were in the pre-computer age. So we're really wanting students to focus on depth over breadth. So wanting them really to understand addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And so at each grade level now, there's fewer concepts, but it's expected that students understand the concepts more deeply. Let's look at a multiplication example. All right, let's compare yesterday's classrooms with today's classrooms. We'll start with multiplication. So here's the first example. You probably recognize this. This is the traditional standard algorithm for multiplication. You and I'm sure were taught this when we were in elementary school. All right. This is the one way, the only way we would perform these steps to get an answer. All right. Let's look at some other ways that today's students might be solving a similar type problem. They might be considering the place value in the digits and doing some calculations. They might use a number line to model what is happening in the operation and quickly and efficiently get to the answer. They might use what's called an open area model. Again, really focused on the place value of the numbers, finding those parts, those products, and combining them to get the answer. Let's look at a subtraction example for the standard algorithm. So this is how you and I learned. Ooh, oh, I'm breaking out in a sweat right now as I look at this. And I have a master's degree in math education. Looking at the zeros and trying to remember how to subtract across zeros and all the rules. Does this one become a 9? Was that one a 10? I hate it. Hate it. What about you? I am so stressed out when I see a problem with a lot of zeros and I have to subtract. Guess what? Once I became a teacher and I realized there were other methods and other strategies, I do not have to subtract to subtract. Let me show you some examples. Let's look at some ways of thinking about solving 45. Take away 17. I don't even have to subtract, like I said. I can add up. I can think addition and add up from 17. Do a quick little adding of 3. That got me to a nice 20. That's such a nice landmark friendly number. So I'm at 20. I just have to add 20 more. I get to 40. Oh, I'm getting close to that 45. I only have to add 5 more. I've gotten to 45. So I'm finding that distance between 17 and 45. It's a distance of 28. And look at that. I didn't even have to subtract. I could just add up. I could also use one of my favorite tools, the number line. Again, subtraction's finding the distance between two numbers. So I could go either way on the number line, but make the jumps either moving forward or backward. And again, I'm locating that 28. That's the jumps. That's the number, the amount between 17 and 45. I like those ways so much better. How about you? Okay, in case you're thinking to yourself, Megan, wait a minute. I learned algorithms and they worked for me. What's wrong with the standard algorithm? Nothing is wrong with the standard algorithms. Mathematicians developed them years ago and they still hold true. They work each and every time. But here's the problem. The problem arrives when children use standard algorithms too early. How do we know they're using them too early? Well, what typically happens is when students are introduced to algorithms too early, before they've had the chance to develop conceptual understandings of key math concepts and operations, then they don't understand what they're doing or why they're doing it. And they make a ton of mistakes. That's how we know it's too early. Well, rest assured, standard algorithms are still in the grade level math standards today, but they are strategically placed in grades once students have had the opportunity to develop real understanding of numbers and how to operate with them. So adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Then they are much, much, much less likely to make mistakes when using the standard algorithm because they understand what they're doing and why. So knowing that addition means putting together and that subtraction means taking apart and so on. So let's take a little quiz right now. What grade levels do you think the standard algorithms show up? And on the screen, I'm showing you from left to right. You've got the standard algorithm for addition, for subtraction, for multiplication, and for division. Guess in your mind right now where you think in most state standards, really it holds pretty true for most states, that these algorithms show up as students will now demonstrate knowledge of the standard algorithm. What do you think? Ready for the answers? All right, for addition, what did you guess? 4th grade is when it shows up. Now you might be saying, wait, Megan, I know 4th graders would be solving the problem 537 plus 698. They are solving that problem. Actually, before is what I meant to say. They are solving it before 4th grade. But they're using other methods. They're using strategies that really show they understand what's going on when you're combining those numbers. So that was 4th grade. What do you think for subtraction for that algorithm? When do you think that shows up in most grade level standards? 4th grade. What do you think about multiplication? When do you think that algorithm shows up? Did you guess 5th grade? And how about for division? What is your guess? 6th grade. All right, so math classrooms of the past, the teacher was the sage on the stage. Have you heard of that before? So the teacher was the keeper of all knowledge. The teacher was the expert. Everybody looked to the teacher to, was that correct? Is that incorrect? And quick, correct calculations were honored and praised, and classrooms were quiet. All right. Today's math classrooms, students are empowered through the teacher's expertise. Through the teacher's expertise. The teacher is facilitating the discussions. The teacher is choosing rich problems for students to work on and asking questions that really get kids to think and reason, giving students the opportunity to share their thinking and consider the thinking of others. And probably most powerfully, the teacher is setting up his or her classroom in a way that students can learn as much from each other as they do from the teacher. Let's watch a classroom of what let's watch a video clip of what today's classrooms can look like.
The key component is about fostering sense making and problem solving. Back in the day when I was a child, we just did math. We did numerical solutions and we wanted to get the correct answer. Whereas today, as we try to get kids to make sense of the math, we're asking them to construct a viable argument. So we're going way beyond that, what we call naked math, and we're saying, okay, build with your math knowledge, what you know about math, and build with a logical step-by-step solution. Make an argument in math that gives you a solution.
That equals 28.
All right, how do you know you get 28?
Because 7 plus 7 is 14. And then the other equals 14. And then I added 14 plus 14. And then that equals 28.
Look at what the difference is when you're asking a child to simply do math, or you're asking a child to explain their process, explain their thinking. The level of sense making is so much greater when you contrast before and now what we're asking students to do. Not only are we asking students to talk about their solutions, but we're also saying consider the ideas of other people, no longer operating in isolation, but listen or read your peers' solution as well. You know, do they have a good, viable argument? Do you agree or disagree? Are there flaws that you'd like to point out? Do you have questions?
I get how she knew that was 14 because from the other problem, she just doubled the problem. She had to double it.
Okay.
Lo, these many years ago, working in isolation with just numbers versus a child who is constructing an argument or critiquing the argument of others, we are doing such a powerful job of asking kids to make sense of math and really be mathematical thinkers.
All right. So rest assured, procedural fluency is still in the standards, but it's balanced now with something we didn't have, conceptual understanding. And remember, I told you that I'm a recovering, not a math person. I wasn't a math person because I was the kid who needed conceptual understanding to understand procedural fluency. So now that I've had a chance to mess around with manipulatives and math tools and visuals, and now that I deeply understand the concepts and the big ideas, now I understand why those algorithms work. And a lot of human beings are like me. They need both this balance that our standard now calls for. So again, today's math standards call for a balance between procedural fluency, using those standard algorithms at the right time once students have real conceptual understanding. Let's watch another brief short video, which does a great job discussing this balance.
We struck a balance between procedural fluency and conceptual understanding in these standards. The standards expect students to achieve procedural fluency, particularly fluency with addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. That's important for later work in algebra. They need to reach a stage of comfort with those operations where they're not filling their brains with that while they're trying to do higher order algebraic procedures. On the other hand, we don't want kids to be mindlessly using rote procedures that they don't understand. That gets you into trouble later too. I've seen kids come to college who are somehow, although they're very good at math in some sense, they don't have any idea of what they're doing. And so the standards build from, for example, in addition and subtraction, studying those properties in grade 2, looking at lots of different ways of thinking about them, understanding how they work, allowing kids to have different strategies. But by the time they get to grade 4, students are expected to be fluent in the standard algorithm for addition and subtraction. And there's a similar build-up from multiplication in grade 3 to the fluency standard in grade 5.
These things are all important, and they all work together in the standards. Fluency in computation is an example. In each grade, there are 1 or 2 required fluencies. These mark the endpoints of long and careful trajectories of developing understanding and application. And these fluencies remain important long after the grades in which they appear as skills that students can build on and combine to solve problems.
All right. Thought they did a good job explaining that. Okay, let's get to these practical tips and takeaways. Now we know why things have changed, and let's see how we can help our kids today, our young mathematicians. We're going to start with another short video. This is going to segue us into tip 1, but I needed to show you the video before we talk about tip 1. So this video highlights Dr. Carol Dweck, She is a psychologist and researcher, very interested in child development from Stanford University in California. She's going to help us with our first tip.
We took fifth graders. We give them puzzles to solve.
So you see these blocks? Can you tell me what color is on that side?
Red, yellow, white, blue.
All right, so what I want you to do is put these blocks together so that the picture on top matches the picture here, all right?
First, we give children a set of easier puzzles to do.
Now here's the next one.
When these 9 and 10-year-olds successfully put together the puzzle, the children are praised for either their intelligence
Wow, you did really well. You must be really smart at these.
or the effort they made.
Wow, you did really well. You must have tried really hard at these.
Then we give them a much harder set of problems, ones that they might, in fact, struggle with.
Here's the next one.
And we see what happens to their confidence. Do they think, oh, this means I'm not good at it after all? Do they stop liking the puzzles? Or do they maintain their confidence and think, well, it just needs more effort or strategies? What happens to their motivation?
You ready to go on?
Ta-da! We also ask them, well, which problems do you want to work on some more? Those easier ones or those harder ones? And generally we find that the kids who have been praised for their intelligence really want to go back to those easier ones that were their claim to fame.
This is a sign of a fixed mindset, the belief that intelligence is innate and can't be changed.
What we found was that children thought that difficulty meant they weren't smart or they weren't good at the task.
So you seem to have more trouble with this one, and I want to know why you think that was.
Probably because I'm not good at these problems.
A very discouraging conclusion.
Other children show a growth mindset.
The growth mindset is like this. No matter who you are, you can always become a great deal smarter. They feel smart when they're working really hard on something difficult and making progress.
So if I give you some more problems, would you like more problems like these that are pretty easy so you'll do well, or problems like these that'll be hard but you might learn a lot from them?
These.
More like these?
Students praised for effort generally want those hard ones that they can learn from. What I've learned from my research is that kids, and I think adults too, are exquisitely sensitive to what's going on in a situation, what other people value, what they're being judged on. What is that voice in our head saying? Is it saying fixed mindset things like, oh, you better not make a mistake, you better look smart, people are judging you? Or is it saying growth mindset things? Here's an opportunity, here's a mistake I can learn from. I feel smart when I do something difficult.
Miss Edwards, we did it!
All right. So tip number 1, promote growth mindset. So maybe you've heard this phrase. This has been a very popular phrase for the last while in education based on research. Growth mindset, number 1, praises effort, not intelligence. Once I started learning about growth mindset, I stopped saying to my own children, oh, wow, you did really well on that project or whatever it was. You're really a smart boy or you're a smart girl. I don't say that anymore. I say, wow, you did great. You must have worked really hard. Or if they don't do so well, I say, oh, I think you're going to have to work harder next time. What do you think? So we're praising effort, not intelligence, because we don't want them to get fixed in either I'm smart or I'm dumb. That's something that just loops around in our head and we can't influence that, right? If we're the person thinking that of ourselves. But effort, that's something I can influence myself. So if I take a test in school and I don't do so well, even if I studied a ton, I just got to say to myself, oh, well, all right, I'm going to have to study more, or I'm going to have to practice more. That's what it's going to take. So it's an effort. Number 2, let's model embracing challenges. So our kids are watching how we deal with challenges. 3, let's reframe failures as learning opportunities. Oh, I didn't do so well on that. So let's see, I'm going to pivot and now I'm going to do this, or I'm going to try this, or I'm going to work harder on this, or I'm going to have someone teach me about this. Number 4, it's really all about focusing on effort and our process. So maybe I did study very hard for something and I didn't do so well. Maybe I've got to think about, is there another way I could study or another way to get ready for whatever that thing was? And number 5, we're really cultivating a love of learning. So if you want to learn more about this growth mindset, I know I loved learning about this. Carol Dweck has this book. You can find it. Came out quite a while ago. Still a great little book. You can get it as a paperback on Amazon. You could probably get it at your library. There is one chapter on parenting that I found very, very helpful for my own parenting. And there's also a chapter for schools and teaching. So it's a great book. I have not read the book on the right, but as I was researching on Amazon, it looked like a very interesting book because I know as a teacher, I like to have growth mindset statements around my classroom. I gave my students growth mindset bookmarks. And I know I created some videos. You can check out my YouTube channel and also check out my teachers page if you want, which is related to my website. I have a lot of growth mindset things myself because being a psychology major before I was an educator, I really believe in the powerfulness of this one. All right, number 2 tip, let's normalize struggle and mistakes. And I have another video from you. This one is by a colleague of Dr. Dweck's. She's another Stanford University professor, but this time she's a mathematics professor and researcher. So let's learn more about growth mindset, but from Dr. Joe Bowler and thinking about mistakes. This would be a great video to share with your students or your children as well. And I will share where you can get it for free.
Hi, my name's Jo Bowler, and I'm a professor of maths education at Stanford University. These are some of my students.
Hi, I'm Brandon.
Hi, I'm Elisa.
Hi, I'm Monse.
Hi, I'm Jody.
And we're here to tell you some really important and exciting facts about maths learning. The first, and maybe the most important, is that everyone can learn maths to high levels.
You may have heard that some people are math people and some are not, or that some people have a gift for math. But new brain research shows us there is no such thing as a math person. Everyone can learn math to any level they want.
Let's look at the brain evidence. We now know that experiences grow your brain. It is up to you how much you learn, as your brain grows and changes all the time.
When you learn something, a synapse fires in your brain. It's like an electric current. And when you learn something deeply, going back to the ideas and thinking about it, the synapse forms a new pathway in your brain. Synapses fire in lots of situations, not just in class. Pathways grow in your brain when you play a game, read a book, draw, and visualize.
Your brain is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the bigger it gets.
In recent years, there have been stunning examples of what scientists call brain plasticity. Your brain isn't actually made of plastic, but it's so flexible, it's growing and changing all the time.
A few years ago, a 9-year-old girl named Cameron had half her brain removed because she was having dangerous fits that doctors couldn't control.
The doctors expected Cameron to be paralyzed for a long time, maybe forever, since she lost the part of her brain that controls physical movement. But she shocked doctors and scientists, as within months she was running around again.
The doctors could only conclude that the missing side of her brain had, in effect, regrown.
In another study, researchers found that a 3-week program in which people work for 10 minutes a day on a task caused permanent brain pathways to form.
Think about that. If a 3-week program can do that, what do you think a year of math class can do to your brain?
That brings us to our second idea. It's really important that you believe in yourself.
We now know that your beliefs about your own abilities actually change the ways your brain works when you do math.
Carol Dweck has shown that everyone has a mindset, a set of beliefs about their own learning and potential.
People with a growth mindset believe anyone can learn and that they can grow their brains through hard work.
People with a fixed mindset think that a person is either smart or not, and that smartness is unchangeable.
A D-. I am not a math person. I just can't do this.
A D-. But that's okay. I'll learn from our mistakes and try harder next time.
These graphs show students' maths achievement in 7th and 8th grade. The students with a fixed mindset, you can see, stay at the same level, but the students with a growth mindset are always doing better and better.
This is because people who believe they can do something work in better ways. They are more persistent, they keep going when problems are hard, they don't stop when they make mistakes. They just keep going.
It is really important that you know that you can achieve anything and that you believe in yourself.
Something else we now know from brain research is that struggle and mistakes are really important. A research study found that when people made mistakes, their brains grew more than when they got work right.
Surely they had to work through the problem and get it right in order for their brains to grow.
Actually, no. The study found that there are two possible synapse firings. The first comes when you make a mistake, and the second one comes if and when you're aware you've made a mistake.
But how can your brain grow if you don't know you've made a mistake?
Well, the best knowledge we have on this is your brain grows when you make a mistake because it's the time that the brain is challenged and is struggling, and those are the best times for brain growth. It can feel hard as a math student to struggle and fail.
We've all had that experience.
But now you can feel good about the struggle because you know your brain is growing.
The most successful people in life are not the ones born with better brains. They're the ones who keep going when things get hard.
Michael Jordan is one of the world's greatest basketball players. This is what he has said about the importance of struggle and failure.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times, I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
Our next message is that speed is not important in maths. You don't need to be fast to be good at maths. In fact, it may be better to be slow with maths.
Some of the best mathematical thinkers in the world are really slow.
Lawrence Schwartz, a mathematician, wrote about feeling stupid in school because he was the slowest mathematical thinker. He went on to become a world-leading mathematician, and he won the Fields Medal, the greatest prize in mathematics. This is a quote from his autobiography.
I was and still am rather slow. I need time to seize things because I always need to understand them fully. Towards the end of the 11th grade, I secretly thought of myself as stupid. I worried about this for a long time.
He goes on to say that he later realized something critical, that speed isn't important in math. What is important is to deeply understand mathematical ideas and connections. Whether you're fast or slow isn't really relevant.
Stephen Strogatz is another top mathematician at Cornell University. He talks about doing math problems in groups and being one of the last people to solve the problem.
The reason many mathematicians are slow is that they think deeply about math. Steve talks about being excited for the first time about a math problem in high school. He then worked on the problem for 6 months and eventually solved it.
It isn't important in maths to be fast. What is helpful in maths is to think visually and creatively. Maths isn't just about calculations. They may be the least interesting part. It's actually about patterns and space, seeing things differently, and making connections.
Maria Mirzakhani is one of the most amazing mathematicians of her time, and she just won the Fields Medal. Her work is entirely visual and very creative. When she won the Fields Medal, other mathematicians talked excitedly about how she had made connections between areas of math that had never been made before.
Even though Mariam is one of the world's leading mathematicians, her 7th grade teacher told her she couldn't do math. Fortunately for the world, she met others who believed in her, and she believed in herself. And she kept going.
In school, many people get the wrong idea that faster students are better at maths. But we know that being fast doesn't mean that. Often the faster students have memorised more, but we know that better memorisers don't necessarily have more maths potential.
No matter how math is presented in school, you should know that math is not about memorization and it is not about calculations. Math is a much broader subject, about ideas, visualization, connections. And don't think grades or test scores define who you are and what you can do. You can do anything.
Many school students don't reach their potential in maths because they think others are better than them. Always know you can do whatever you want to do. Your brain is growing and changing all the time. We want to leave you with these messages.
There is no such thing as smart people and not smart people. Anyone can work to high levels.
When you believe in yourself, your brain works differently.
Mistakes grow your brain. Struggle and challenge are really good for you.
It is not important to be fast in math. It is important to think deeply and creatively.
Math is a broad, creative, visual subject.
If you'd like to learn more of these ideas, we have a website called UCubed. Come and try some of our maths tasks that reflect real maths.
We are starting a revolution about math and the brain. You can help us spread the revolution by showing your teachers and parents our website and telling them what you have learned. Come to the students section of UCubed and tell us your experiences.
And most importantly, we believe in you and we want you to keep believing in yourself. It's really important.
Wasn't that a great message? Okay, so of course, Dr. Bowler has some great resources I highly recommend. Some might be at your library, some on Amazon. Mathematical Mindsets, Mathish is her most recent one, Limitless Mind. And here's her website with a lot of great free resources for families, students, classrooms, and videos that you can share with your kids. Tip 3, recognizing that there are multiple ways of finding an answer. Sometimes when we encounter a math problem, we think, oh, we have the perfect strategy for solving it. And we don't understand why our child doesn't see it our way as easily as we do. I still remember when I realized as a teacher a long time ago in my journey that there were many ways to solving a problem. Maybe my brain prefers one strategy, but maybe someone else's brain prefers another strategy. That's okay. Of course, there's a lot of value in listening to others' thinking and strategies, because perhaps I want to borrow a strategy that I really like that's shared with me. So what I've learned as an educator and as a parent, I ask, I listen, and I learn about my student or my child. Some great questions I can ask them. What do you notice about this problem? What are you wondering? My all-time favorite question, how do you know? I ask that when they're right and when they're wrong. How do you know? Why? And what is another way of solving the problem? Think about this problem for a minute. I want to demonstrate this tip about knowing there's more than one way to solve a problem. And the reason we're doing this tip is because maybe your child has a different way of thinking than you do. And maybe the strategy you're trying to share isn't the best one for your child. So let's think about this problem. Think about 59 plus 13 for a minute. And try not to use paper and pencil. Just push yourself to use some mental math. Come up with an answer and be cognizant of how you got your answer. Okay, let's consider that for a moment. Let's check out some third graders and let's see how they thought about solving it. Let's see if one of their ways was a way that you came up with.
Okay, so I want you to put your thumb up when you have an answer to this problem. All right, let me ask for answers first. Anybody willing to share what you got on for this one? Avery, what'd you get?
72.
72.
Okay, everybody agrees with me.
Colin?
put the 10 with
Oh, did you agree with 72? Okay, I'm sorry. So everybody agrees with 72?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Colin, go.
I put the 10 with the 5, and that was 60, and then...
Oh, you put the 10 with this? What is this 5 in this problem?
50.
50 and
That's
10.
60.
Okay.
And then I put 60 plus 9 is 69.
Okay, so you took this 9 as a 10.
Then I counted the 3, and then I got 72.
Okay. All right. Did you follow his thinking how he got 72?
Yeah, I did the same way.
All right. So maybe tell me a different strategy to get the same answer. Yes, tell me what you did.
I did 59 plus 3 equals 62 plus 10 equals 72.
Oh, okay. You saved that 10. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? All right. Andrew, you have a real different way?
Okay. And she said 3 on 59 plus. No, she said 59 plus 3. To Maddie.
Right.
You wrote Maddie.
Yeah, 59 plus 3, right? Is that right how I recorded it, Madison?
Okay.
59 plus 3, okay.
I imagined that the 59 was a 60.
Oh, okay. Let me write that down. So you thought of the 59 as a 60, okay?
Yes, and then I added the 13.
Okay.
And then I had to take 1 away.
What'd you get for 60 plus 13?
72.
70.
Wait.
60 plus 13.
73.
Okay, then what'd you do?
And then I had to take away 1 because the 60 was 1 too many.
Andrew said the reason why he took this 1 away is because he added 1 too many to start with. Why'd you want to start with 60 here?
Because it's a good number to start with.
Yeah, that's a good number. All right, so is everybody pretty sure that 59 plus 13 is 72?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm curious, was your way mentioned? Were you able to follow those student strategies? Wasn't that fantastic? They were solving those with mental math. So our takeaway in knowing there's multiple ways to solve every problem in the world, there's multiple ways. Takeaway, some practical takeaways for you. Do some chalkboard math in your house. So I strategically, as a parent, had just a small chalkboard. Well, they would vary in size. Sometimes I had larger chalkboards just because I like chalkboards in the kitchen area. And I would write different problems on there, just like you're seeing, depending on the age of my kids, what would be appropriate. But teachers could do this too in a classroom. And I ask my kids, hey, think about that problem. How would you solve it? And something I want you to really notice is I chose this image to put on the slide because it's written horizontally. When we write problems vertically, it seems to influence us to want to solve it with a traditional standard algorithm. But when we write problems horizontally, it tends to make us think more about the numbers and think about how we could break them apart. And it really seems to open up our thinking. So I want to challenge you, if you do this, write your problems horizontally. And I might have put things on my chalkboard like, oh, I did so many different things. I might say I have 50 cents. What are the different coins that I could have? So there's so many different open-ended kinds of questions that you can put up there for your kids, your students, and then just ask, listen, and learn. And you can have everybody in your family share how they thought about the problem and how they solved it. Another idea is just talking in the car. You know, that's that great time that we kind of have that trapped audience. So coming up with some different problems you can think about, and you can just Google or use AI for whatever grade level your child is in. Just some good problems that you can just talk about in the car and give them time to think. Sometimes I would have a whiteboard and dry erase pens available in the car if they wanted to, you know, show me something. So, all right, let's move on. Tip 4. So, because we're talking about different strategies, this is what we want to encourage. We want to encourage efficiency, flexibility, and accuracy. What do those words mean? I want to be really careful here and say efficiency is not fast. I know I've got a runner on there, Efficiency, though, is kind of a quicker way to solve the problem. So here's something that's not efficient, okay, as an example of how to explain this. Maybe I have a sixth grader who has to solve, gosh, what could it be? 2,526 times 352. So one way of solving that we learn about in second grade and third grade is we can draw circles. Like if it was 3 times 2, I could draw 3 circles and put 2 little marks or little stars in each circle. And for that one, I would come up with 3 times 2 is 6. But drawing circles and stars for the large number I just gave at the beginning is not efficient. So we do want to encourage strategies that, again, we're not talking about time tests. No, 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 no. Actually, research says they do more harm than good. We're talking about finding strategies that work with our brain in an efficient manner. Flexibility, that's the yoga pose in the middle. So we want to be flexible with our strategies. So that means choosing a strategy that works best with that group of numbers. So like that example we saw in the video, 59 plus 13, there is an addition strategy that a lot of students innately come up with, like the last boy, Andrew, came up with, where he said, oh, I saw 59 plus 13 in my head, and I thought, oh, I'd rather do 60 plus 13. So he's being really flexible, and he's knowing to moving to that landmark or that friendly number of 60 works really well when I'm at a something 9, 59, 49, 39. So I can be flexible in choosing the strategy that works best with that set of numbers. And the target sign, that's accuracy. This is math class. We do want to get the correct answer because it can be very important if we're figuring out totals for a bill or something to do with money, or, it can be very important. So being accurate, okay? Efficiency, flexibility, and accuracy. Those are the types of habits we want to encourage our students to use when they're working with strategies. Okay, tip 5. We want to help our kids focus on understanding. Now, you've heard this a bunch throughout all the videos, not just memorization. So we all probably recognize that in the old days, memorization was valued. And now it's still important. We don't want to be sitting in 10th grade math and we can't solve that algebra problem because we don't know the answer to 7 times 8. It is helpful to know some facts. So if I'm sitting there and I need to know, 7 times 8 is 56. A little bit of memorization is helpful for later, more challenging math. We don't want to be, wasting our time doing simple calculations. But especially in elementary school, we really want to focus on understanding. So great, 7 times 8 is 56. How do you know that? Can you prove it? What's one way to figure it out? Oh, it's repeated addition. 7 plus 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 7. That was 8 groups of 7. That's 56. Or I could use a distributive property. So instead of 7 times 8, I could figure out 4 times 8 and 3 times 8 and add those products together, and I'm going to get 56. Or I could draw 7 circles and put 8 stars and figure out it's 56. So that's displaying, or I could sketch an array. That's displaying that I really understand the concept of multiplication. So some questions you can ask your students to see if they're focusing on understanding, or to influence them to focus on understanding, is how did you get that answer? Why does it work like that? What do you notice? What do you wonder? All right, tip 6. Board games, card games, even simple games with dice are excellent for building number sense and strategic thinking. Play, play, play. Chess, checkers. You see Challenge 24, which is a 24 game. You can find that on Amazon, one of my favorites. For the 24 game, you need to use, so when I was a fifth grade teacher, this was a staple in our classroom. The answer on every card is always 24. And you can use addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division to get to the answer. So each card has 4 different numbers, but you have to use all 4 of them. It's great. I use this a lot in my tutoring when I'm working one-on-one with students. We want to take a brain break. Kids love doing the 24 game. And the cards are leveled so that 1-dot cards are the simplest. They're still not simple though. 2-dot cards are a little bit harder, and 3-dot cards are very challenging. So those are great. That's a great card game to play. I'd say 4th grade and up. But there's so many different games out there all over. So play. Make math games part of your repertoire and your family. Moving on. Tip 7, make math a part of everyday life. So in the kitchen, let your child measure ingredients for baking and cooking. Talk about fractions. If the recipe calls for 3/4 cup of sugar and we want to double it, how much would we use? Oh, especially with fractions, we've got to make it really applicable and practical. We want to take it away from just being abstract. We want to let kids see how big that 3/4 of a cup is, how big the half of the cup is, 1/8 of a teaspoon, or whatever it is. At the store, might say something like that item is 50% off. So what's the new price? Or if we have $20, can we buy both of these? Why or why not? When traveling, ask your child to keep track of the miles on a road trip or estimate how long it will take to get to a destination. Use mileage signs to practice subtraction. So some daily activities, practicing elapsed time problems. If soccer practice lasts 45 minutes and starts at 3:30, what time will it end? So math is really, really, when we start calculating all the times we do math every day, it's really a big part of our life. So bring that alive for our kids. This is our last tip. Create a curious stance. How do you know? What do you notice? What are you wondering? I thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. To thank you for supporting your young mathematicians. If I can assist you in any way or your child, be it virtually, in person, my website has a ton of resources. On my website, you can go to my YouTube channel where I have a bunch of videos, all free. And I have a lot of different activities, games, all sorts of things, free and not, on my Teachers Pay Teachers page, which is linked on my website. So again, this is Megan from the Math Workshop. I am just so appreciative that you took the time to join me. Take care. I wish you the best of luck with your mathematicians.